Hello everyone and welcome to episode 71 of the Hunger for the Hustle podcast, the podcast where I interview business owners and entrepreneurs about their journeys, their trials, their triumphs, their failures and their successes in the world of business and entrepreneurship. And really in an effort to pull back that curtain behind the curtain of entrepreneurship, which is often seen as something golden and glamorous and sexy. And let me tell you, as someone who's owned businesses and been an entrepreneur, it is not all that much glamorous. My guest today is a fellow leader and thinking into results student, Taneisha Ramsey. Taneisha is an author of multiple best-selling books and is fresh off the press with her latest title, Daring to Love. Taneisha has created a Facebook community she calls She Thrives Now that enables women to come together and be empowered and encouraged. Her blog touches every aspect of women's lives, from their relationships to self-love, inner healing and true freedom. Featured on ABC, CBS, Fox News, NBC, and now today, right here on the Hunger for the Hustle podcast, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Taneisha to the show. Taneisha, how are you today?
I'm great, Jake. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here with you in this venue. Thank you.
It's my absolute pleasure to have you here. And you're joining me from Virginia Beach.
Yes, Virginia Beach, right on the ocean front. I live I can step on the sand and I love it because I love the water. It's so freeing to just be in nature. So I'm so blessed. I used to live in the basement. Now I live in a penthouse. So I'm excited about all that God has done for me.
That is quite a switch from the basement to the penthouse.
Yes, literally.
I love the water too. It's funny you should say that. I found a new love for the water when I went away to Queensland recently and I swam in the Great Barrier Reef. I've been here 5 years in Melbourne and it took me 5 years to get up there and get in the water and experience all the coral and the reef and swim with the turtles. And yeah, it really ignited for me that love of being in the water again. It's a really nice thing. But to have that at your doorstep and just at your tippy toes every day, that must be something really special.
It is, and I saw that video with you swimming with the turtles, and I said, okay, Jake, now the video I shared, I was behind some glass, taking a video of Mr. Turtle, being in the water with them. You got it. You'll have to show me how to get up the courage to do that one day.
Oh, yeah, you know what? I thought it would take. People said to me, weren't the sharks and stuff in the water? And I was like, well, I wasn't thinking about that. I was just looking for turtles.
Right.
There could have well been sharks in the water. Yeah. Now, tell me, Taneisha, you've obviously, you've not just you've wrote many books, and many of them have been bestsellers. How did you come to write your first book, and what really kicked that off for you?
Yes, my first book, After the Affair, What's Next, was really written because God gave me this vision to help heal other women break shame and guilt cycles. A lot of times when we're caught up in infidelity, we don't want to talk about it. There's a lot of shame associated with it. And especially when it's a woman, right? It's not that women don't cheat. A lot of times we're smarter than that and we don't get caught as easily as some of our male counterparts are. Just be honest. So when it happens, it's almost like it's unbelievable that it happened. But it was something I decided to put my big girl panties on and say yes and take accountability for what I did, give the reasons as to why I did it. But at the end of the day, it was the wrong decision. And I wanted to help others see that it's not just about getting revenge, because I cheated out of revenge, right? It was more about the effects that was going to have on me, my reputation, the way I felt about myself. It didn't feel good to get even at all. As a matter of fact, I felt worse afterwards. And so being able to help other people break that shame and guilt when we make mistakes, hey, life happens to us all. And sometimes we look at ourselves and say, was that really me? Was I was that me that did that? Because you don't even believe that you would do some of the things that you do in life, right? But it's okay. We all make mistakes and we all learn from them. And so when you take those lessons and turn them into blessings for your life, because now I'm sharing my life story with others to help empower, uplift, and inspire. I'm thankful for what I went through. I'm thankful for every valley, because every valley makes me the woman that I am today. And my brokenness is beautiful. That's what I say about it, because it makes me more empathetic. It makes me non-judgmental. It makes me want to help others that were in my situation. And so all of my books are based on self-love and how to become the best version of yourself. We've all survived. I love the title of this show, because hustling is that survival grit mode, right? And so we're still here. We survived the storm, but now I'm ready to thrive at life. I'm ready to flow into abundance, into the doors that are opening for me that I don't even have to push open. That God is opening them for me, and I'm just walking through with grace. Not like let me in, but I'm supposed to be here. That's why I'm still here. I'm not taking a dirt nap. I'm still right here.
No dirt naps here. No dirt naps here. And then, so from fast forwarding from that first book, and it's fascinating how that came together. Like, so from when the kind of event happened, you said the infidelity happened. How long was it from that moment? And I can imagine, there's probably a bit of pain and trials and tribulations that kind of followed. And then going on from that, how long did it take you to create the book?
It took about a year and a half, that first book, a year and a half. And my ex-husband didn't want me to write it. He felt like it wasn't in his business. Right. And I really think that's the thing that kind of forced us into divorce. It was one of the reasons that forced us into divorce, because he was embarrassed about the fact that I would share our business, when all I wanted to do was help empower other couples, help uplift other people that have been in that situation. But everybody's growth isn't going at the same speed, at the same level, right? So although I was ready to share, he wasn't. And so it brought me empowerment and freedom, and it brought him shame and guilt, because he was still wanting to put on a face that we were that perfect couple. And I did.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah, like you say, people's growth goes at different rates, and you got to express how you're feeling in the moment at the time. It's your right to tell that story. It's your story. I guess it's kind of his story as well, but I mean, you're the one who's writing the book, so it's your time when you choose to release it.
Absolutely. And when we initially was starting our divorce process, he said, well, he wanted 50% of the sales and proceeds.
No,
well, you
doesn't
didn't
quite
write
work like
every
that.
page on the book, so I don't think you deserve 50%. I mean, you didn't decide to share your piece of it with the world, and I purposely didn't really share from his perspective. It was all about from my perspective, and being in abusive relationships in the past, and that hurt and pain that you carry from each relationship to the next, even though it's a different individual. So you're the one that has to change. And so daring to love is the next version of after the affair, what's next, because it's all about self-love. It's all about self-discovery. It's all about you and loving yourself enough to keep raising the bar of your standard of love. See, when you're used to eating hamburgers, you don't even realize what filet mignon tastes like. Right? You think the hamburger, where's the beef? You think the hamburger is good by itself. Well, wait till you taste some filet mignon. And that's how it feels with relationships. Sometimes you settle for relationships because you're not being abused or emotionally or physically, but it's still not the best relationship for you. And so therefore you wind up settling. I was in a relationship for 17 years and didn't even realize that I had got to a point where I really was just settling. I really just got comfortable with being with the same person for so long, and I didn't want to fail at another thing. Let's just keep it real. When you fail at things in life and you've been through some rough points, you think to yourself, I'm not going to fail at another thing. And so that's where I was, and I think that's why I stayed committed to a relationship that wasn't the best relationship for me. But hey, all is well now. I'm remarried. My last name is Ramsey now, not Mitchell. And I have married the man of my dreams. Every time he sees me, he picks me up and spins me around and tells me how much he loves me. So
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And you live on the beach, so I mean, what a turnaround! What a turnaround for life, really.
Yes, the complete turnaround.
No, that's fantastic. And then, at what stage did you create the community She Thrives Now? Did it start as a Facebook group, or?
Yes, it started as a Facebook group, and then it started as a blog, and then it morphed into a Facebook community, and now it's morphed into a TV show. She Thrives Now Inc. is starting in January. It's going to be on Believe in Your Dreams Network every Thursday at 8 p.m. I can't wait for the launch date. It's so fresh off of the press that I don't even have the launch date. It's completely secret, hush hush, because they're going to do a whole intro to all the new shows that are coming out on Believe in Your Dreams Network. I have just been promoted. Wasn't looking for any new promotion or anything, but because of my excitement about my own show, they actually promoted me to International Director for Believe in Your Dreams Network. So I get to bring other people on board for our network to have their own TV show. So I would love to see this podcast turn into a television show on Believe in Your Dreams Network.
That would be amazing. I would love that. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting format, the podcasting format, because I mean, particularly the format I've chose to do it in, it's typically just audio. This is obviously a live video, so not just video but live. So that's a bit different, and then it goes out across all platforms as video but then audio as well. So it's like, people can, and a lot of people get the value from the podcast because they can do it while they're doing stuff, in these busy lives we find ourselves in now. You can do it while you're driving, you can do it while you're making dinner, you can do it while you're doing XYZ, you can do this in the background. So it's a really easily digestible content for people to enjoy. But I like to do the video as well, because for me, like, as I'm looking at you now, you can't beat this, in this virtual world we're in, and the fact that you're in Virginia Beach and I'm in Melbourne, Australia, it would be a little bit difficult to make it happen, right? But it's much more interactive for me to be able to see you, hear you in real time. And frankly, why not? The technology permits. It's readily available, and it works almost seamlessly.
Absolutely.
All the time.
I love it. This is the new way. Technology is now. We're not going to be having big conferences now. Now, instead of reaching just the people at the conference, you can reach people all over the world, and that's just amazing to me.
It is. I think it's bittersweet, isn't it? Because I think people will miss those large events, and I think perhaps they will come back eventually. But it's pushed people into a space where, it just means that it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can all be in the same place a lot quicker and a lot easier. And I think it's actually brought a lot of people's skill set along a lot quicker as well. People have realized that, okay, if I want to pivot my business, whether I'm speaking, whether I'm podcasting, whether I'm, reading my book online, audio books and things like that, I'm going to have to get used to this new technology. And that's a lot of the time is going to play out with technologies like video, of course, all the time. So
yeah. And I'm 47, right? So I am not part of the technology. Well, I can't say that. I'm not going to speak for my whole generation. I'm technology challenged, but I do have a 26-year-old and a 19-year-old that help me when I get stuck. When my phone repositions itself and goes vertical instead of horizontal, and I want it to flip, and I'm like, why won't it flip around? That's how challenged I am when it comes to technology.
It's funny because I just think when you're saying that of like some things where I've had to help my mom out, And not so much my dad. My dad's pretty good with the tech, but he can generally figure it out. But yeah, definitely my mom sometimes. And it's funny because of course your parents bring you up and they teach you things all your life, and you're used to that. But then when you get a little bit older with technology, the situation flips round. And to me, it's just stuff that's just so simple and second nature because I've been around it for so many years. I'm like, yeah, you just press that button, hold that there, press that there. And they're like, I don't know how you did that. Can you just slow it down for me and do it again?
Right.
Like
One
10 times
step
slower.
one, step two.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I taught my mom not long ago how to use links and like how to tap a link, and I was like, if I send you something and it's blue text on the screen, it means you can tap it and it's going to take you somewhere else. And she's like, no way, I can't believe it. And then next thing I know, I'm getting sent links, I'm getting sent videos, I'm getting sent photos, and I was like, Mom, I'm actually really impressed at how quickly you've come along. So it just shows,
Awesome.
it doesn't take long to learn the stuff. I think sometimes the fear of learning it and doing something wrong and breaking whatever you're using often holds people back a bit.
I agree.
But I don't think it should. Now, tell me about, how was there many challenges along the way when you became to be a published author? Like, how did that actually play out for you? Obviously, you had this idea that you wanted to produce the book. I guess you'd perhaps already written it, whether you'd physically written it or you had the story in your mind. You knew it was a fantastic story and the world was going to get value from it. But were there many challenges in actually getting that published as a physical, tangible book?
Well, what happened was I actually went to a conference by Lisa Nichols called Speaking Right to Make Millions. And I went to that conference not knowing that it was anything about being an author or anything like that. And as I shared my personal story of, almost being murdered by my ex-husband because when he found out that I had an affair, he immediately put a gun to my head and wanted to know who I had an affair with. And the fact that I came that close to death and I just called on God to help me in that moment, and I heard God say, you are not being the daughter I created you to be. Stop running from love. And when I heard that, I immediately said, I'm sorry, audibly. And my ex-husband, dropped the gun. And we cried and we talked about it. And I actually finally shared with another human being that I had been molested as a child and that I had been abused in past relationships that I didn't want him to know anything about. And that really I was afraid to give anyone my full heart because I didn't want it to be broken again. And I think as you go through periods in life where you start to experience pain, you put shields over your heart, one layer at a time. And before you know it, love can't get in and love can't get out. So the love that he actually had for me, I wasn't even really benefiting from it fully because I didn't think it was real. I didn't think that I was worthy. I didn't think that I deserved someone else's heart. And so when you're in that space in life, you tend to attract untrustworthy people because you don't trust anyone. So people who you don't trust are the ones that are going to be attracted to you. And because you're not willing to give anyone your full heart, guess what? They're not willing to give you their full heart either. And so then you get into this relationship where neither one of you are being your authentic self. And so as I shared my story with other people that were at the conference, they actually were the ones that were saying, Taneisha, you really have to share this story with the world. So many people need to hear what you went through and how God pulled you through it and completely changed your life. See, I used to be an exotic dancer, so I know all about the hustle. Trust me, I know what it is to do whatever it takes to make $1, right?
Yeah.
To provide for myself and my son. And so I had a lot of that baggage with me, a lot of mistrust of men and relationships. And so it was necessary. And I actually got chosen as the nurse for the conference that I went to. And as the nurse, I wound up taking care of one of the publishers that were there. And because I took such good care of her, because she was a little older and I love the elderly. She's not even that old, but she wears her hair like white. Her name is Marva Allen from Wordy Publishing. I was helping her. She was my speaker person that I had to help. And we just started talking. And she said, you know, teacher, I want to help you. And she helped me. She invited me to her house in New York, and we wrote some of the chapters out, and she helped me tweak some things. And she actually was asking me more questions so that I could dig deeper into the message for Daring to Love. Because I had wrote After the Affair Was Next, but I hadn't wrote it to the level that it needed to be presented.
Right.
And so it was all about me giving back, that God connected me with that publisher, and now she publishes all of my books. Wordy, WORD, triple E, it's 3 E's, wordy.com.
That's brilliant, and it's isn't it weird and wonderful sometimes how the right people just come into your life at the right times.
Yeah.
Now, you said obviously you told that story, and then people told you it was a fantastic story and that the world deserved to hear it. And I'd imagine from that point that you've told it many more times. Was it quite difficult to tell the story to start with, and then did it get easier as the more times you told it?
Absolutely. It gets easier and easier. And now that I'm completely healed from that trauma and that pain, I can talk about it without it triggering an emotional response of pain from inside. I speak from a space of healing. I speak from a space of victory, not being a victim. We have to go from victim mindset to victorious mindset. We're not victims, we're victorious. And that's what She Thrives Now is all about. From victim to victor. We survived, yes, but now it's time to thrive. And so that's why I share my story, so that everyone can know. If she could go through it, I had close to death experience. Like I said, Cardi B, she talks about exotic dancing like it's something glorified. And she says, you know, I don't dance anymore, I make money moves. I say I don't dance anymore, I make godly moves. Because God has transformed my entire life from that space. And I am a woman from the well. I am the woman with 3 husbands, you know, that God just said, you know what? Those who he has forgiven for much, love him that much more. And so I'm okay with being a sinner. I'm okay with being the one that God had to completely turn around from alcoholism, from being promiscuous, from all the things that make you feel like you're not worthy. Now, the woman I am today, I want to help other women get to this space. And men too, because there are a lot of men that are still hurting from brokenness, but are looking at their brokenness as a handicap instead of looking at it as a way to empower others. Because of our story, we're more related than we think we are.
Oh yeah. For sure. I can relate to that one, that's for sure. Now, you talked about the fact that you used to be an exotic dancer there, and that, you know, that is quite a job that involves a quite a lot of hustle, you know, to get the money in, make the ends meet. You said you had a son to provide for at the time. I'd love to know, like, what does the word hustle, like, really getting into it? What does it really mean for you? And then what drives, like, your hunger for that hustle?
Well, my hustle back then was survival, right? I didn't have a choice. I had a no matter what, I was going to succeed. That failure wasn't an option, because now that I had a son, I had another life that I was responsible for. I didn't have time to not win, right? I just had to do whatever it took. And I used pride to make excuses for myself as to why I wasn't going to go back home and get the help that I could have got from my parents, because I am an only child and I come from a family that both parents were there. I'm not from a single parent household. I had my mom, I had my dad. My dad raised me to be very independent. He raised me to have a voice, to always speak up for myself, to always ask questions, that no question is a dumb question, that smart people ask questions. He always taught me that winners never quit and quitters never win. That excuses are the tools of the incompetent, building monuments of nothingness, and those who excel in them seldom succeed in anything else. So I had a strong foundation. I had a strong, I can do anything foundation. It just got twisted a little bit in my 20s. So I used it to do the wrong thing. I hustled to do the wrong thing. So now I hustle with a winner's mindset, and I hustle saying all I do is win. I love that song by DJ Khaled. All we do is win, 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 no matter what. That's my hustle mindset. I'm gonna win. No matter what, I'm gonna win. And I'm not gonna stop until I win because I was born to win. That's the hustle mindset that I have now. Failure still, it's not even failure is what you consider to be failure. A lot of people can look in their life and say this was a failure, that was a failure. Like for me, with this coronavirus, I've been my own CEO. I've had my own business for the last 4 years, my home health agency. And Corona just completely shut my business down. Now, as a nurse, I said, you know what? I've been giving my life to helping others for the past 17 years. Now it's time for me to help heal others in a different way because I'm not willing to continue to expose myself with my background of having asthma and some other medical conditions. I had to reinvent myself. So I could have looked at it as, you know what, my business failed because of Corona. But instead I said, no, that door closed, I'm keeping it closed, it's slammed shut, and God is opening another door for me to speak out to the world full time, for me to be a full-time author and not just dibble and dabble, but do the very thing that I love to do, which is to inspire, empower, so that other people can thrive at life.
And I would say you're born to do it, right? Because you're inspiring, empowering me right now. And I'd say that you're inspiring, empowering anyone that's listening to this, whether they're listening now, live or later. So yeah, it's wonderful to see someone doing what they were truly destined to do in life and excelling at it. You know, like you said, that door opened for you and you ran straight through it. So yeah, congrats to you for finding that thing that you really were made to do in life and excelling at it.
Thank you, Jake.
Now let's talk about personal development. I know you're like a student of me under our great coach John Tallarico, who teaches us and guides us through one of Bob Proctor's courses, Thinking into Results. How did you come to find that course, and what made you sign up to it?
Well, I found, of course, Empower Voice, right? Where we're all trying to use our voice and speak up for the voiceless, right? I always say that I'm the voice for the voiceless. I've always been one of those people who will ask the question, even in the boardroom. Other leaders would be afraid to ask the question. And I would say, well, what is it that you want to ask? And they would tell me, and I say, excuse me, I have a question. And I would just ask the question. So I've always been an advocate for those who are afraid to use their voice. And so the Power Voice was about me learning. We always have to continue to learn. So if I'm going to speak, I want to be the best speaker. I want to learn the techniques. I want to learn how to deliver the message so that you have actionable items, so that people reach their goals, so that they know that they have to plan for their goals. They have to set 30, 60, 90-day goals. They have to have micro wins. They have to plan and time everything out and be tenacious about their goals, never letting go of those goals. And so through the Power Voice is how I heard about TIR. And I said, you know what? If that's the VIP level, I'm VIP. Right? You're VIP. We're all VIP. We just sometimes don't believe that we're VIP, or we make excuses as to why we can't do something. And so I said, I'm not going to make an excuse. If this is the elite VIP, then I need to be a part of it. And I'm so glad that I have, because that leap of faith has connected me with so many people that are doing the things that I want to do, that I'm inspired by everyone in the group. It's a collective group of just talented, beautiful people. We're so unique. We come from all over the world, and I'm just blessed to be a part of it. And the things that we're learning about mindset, I thought I've always had a good mindset, and I've practiced having a good mindset. It's not something that just happens, but you know what? I didn't even realize that I wasn't continuing to do the routines that got me to where I am today. You know, I kind of said, oh, I wanted to write my book, achieve that. I wanted to write another one, achieve that. I wanted to open my own business, achieve that. And then I stopped doing the very things that got me to the point where I was able to achieve those things. I thought those things were still going to just keep happening magically. No. You have to continue the work, continue to work on yourself. And so that's why now I'm developing a coaching program to help women and hold their hand through the process of starting their own businesses, about daring to love, daring to dream, daring to set those goals, daring to believe, daring to be who they're created to be. I've been blessed, and now because I have an abundant mindset, I'm no longer thinking about just how Taneisha can be successful. I'm thinking about how can I bring others with me? How can I share the lessons that I learned to help someone else? Because I remember somebody asked me, Taneisha, what made you think you could just open up a home health agency with no experience in home health? I said, because I believe that I could. There's nothing that I can't do. That's what I truly believe. Just like babies learn how to talk, why can't we learn how to do something new? You don't stop learning how to do something new. You want to learn a new language, you can learn it. You just have to say, I can do this. You have to believe in yourself. People can't do it because they tell themselves they can't do it.
Absolutely right.
I tell myself that I can't do anything because I know that I can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things.
It's like Henry Ford says, you know, the man who says, or the man or lady, you know, the person who says he can or he can't is both right. You know, it's just the decision and the belief, and whatever you tell yourself you can or can't do, that's how it plays out for you. Exactly right. So there's a bit of trepidation in that, but there's also beauty in that as well, because of course it's your freedom and your right to change that decision and change that belief at any time. So it's a really empowering thing to just to hear and then actually to put into action. And I could completely align with you when you said, you know, I had a strong mindset as well. I always did from when I was a young man. A really close friend of mine, James, who's been my best friend since forever, basically. He taught me about the power of positive mindset and just to remain positive in spite of your circumstance, in spite of your environment, in spite of the things that are happening for you, you know, around you. And I learned that as a young man, and I kind of carried that forward into most of my life with a positive mindset. And you know, things come and you achieve things and everything's great, but then you do get to, and I think it's kind of what you described, you had your first book, you had your second book, you started the business, and then you kind of level off. You do what they call plateau. You know, you get to a point where you're like, I'm a bit comfortable now, and you're in the comfort zone, and you think, I don't really, things are going to keep coming to me, and it's not like that. You got to keep putting the work in. You got to keep, you know, especially if you want more growth, if you want to strive for better things, that work never stops. Something I read in Les Brown's latest book, You've Got to Be Hungry, at the end of one of the chapters, he said, the road to personal development never ends. Take 10% of what you earn every year and put it into developing and growing yourself. And it was one thing that just really stuck with me. And following on from that, I mean, I'm not sure if I'd already signed up to TIR then, or if I did as a result of kind of reading that. But the timing was definitely about the same timing. And I think it's important to remember that, you know, even if you're on the road to personal development, it truly does never end. I remember someone telling me that before I got involved in it, and I was like, ooh, that sounds a bit scary. I don't know if I want to get involved on a road that never ends. But
Right.
once you embark on it and you start getting the rewards back from it, it is truly one of. I mean, what better thing could you invest in really than yourself?
Exactly. You just get better and better, like wine. It gets better with time, right? You just keep getting better and better. And so that's what I love about it. And like I said, I didn't even realize why I kind of plateaued and that I was actually starting to get in that comfortable, well, I make six figures, I was almost, my business was at a half a million, grossing a half a million. And I remember a time where I only had $2 to my name. And so to go from having $2 to my name and that was the reason that I wound up dancing in the first place, because I had to figure out what I was going to do for money. And I had finally got to the point where money wasn't, it was something that I didn't have to think about anymore. And that's a good feeling to not have to think about money. But at the same time, that's not all life is. Money is not it's not the thing that's going to bring you that fulfillment to make you want to get up every single morning. And I had found myself starting to get up a little later and later, and just not having that passion that I used to have about life, because guess what, I wasn't being challenged. When I first started my business, I would stay there till 2 o'clock in the morning, making sure that everything was good, everything was in order. And when you stop challenging yourself, that fire, it starts to burn down. And so that's what I love about speaking. It's always something new. It's always a way to keep improving life. Like you said, self-development is all about that continual growth that's never ending. We never got it. We never have it all together. We might have it all together in our business world, but in our personal relationships, it's like, not as much.
Absolutely.
So there's always something to work on. If you don't have something to work on, you're lying to yourself. So stop it.
That's true. Lesson. I think it's 7, the terror barrier. I believe it is 7, the terror barrier. It might be 8 in thinking into results. And Bob Proctor says something that just really aligned with me, and that was if I want to be free, then I have to be me. And if you're a person that loves challenges and that's where you thrive and that's what makes you work late at night, that's what makes you get up in the morning, you have to stay true to that. And when you plateau, the business is doing well, the business is doing great, maybe I'm getting up a little later, it's not that you need to stop growing that business. You either need to grow it more, or if it doesn't interest and excite you anymore, great, just keep it rolling. Maybe find someone else to take care of the daily runnings of it, but don't starve yourself. If you want to be free, you've got to be you and find a new challenge, a new obstacle, a new thing that's going to take you out of that comfort zone, because that's where you're going to get the growth, and that's where you're going to feed who you are, I believe.
Absolutely. That's why I'm so excited about this journey of speaking, this journey of coaching. This is a whole new journey for me. I'm reinventing myself as we speak. I'm continuing to reinvent myself, and I'm okay with being a novice in some areas. We don't know it all. Nobody knows it all. So I'm in good company, right? I don't have to be the one that knows everything. As a matter of fact, if you're the smartest one in your circle, what they say is you're in the wrong circle. You need to level up. So I'm leveling up, and I'm in new circles in life where people are challenging me, things that I've never heard before, perspectives that I've never heard before. It's just been awesome. I'm like a sponge. I always love to learn. I always have been a good student. And so now just being a student at life, I'm excited about the next season in my life.
I'm excited for you. It's all very exciting. The group we're in, we're thinking into results. There's always exciting stuff in there. Always people that strive for greatness, really, truly. But people in there who, that not the competition, I think, is healthy. I don't think there's anything wrong with competition, but when it comes at a level where you kind of sacrificing others, but that's not what that group's about. It's all about collaboration. It's about people wanting themselves to do well, but wanting you to do even better, and like with genuineness and authenticity in that. It's just a beautiful thing to be a part of. I'm really thankful and grateful that it came my way. And I also think, what do you think about this, Taneisha, that you came to thinking into results via the Power Voice? The reason the Power Voice was created because things got a little bit quiet for Les Brown as opposed to his normal life, because he wasn't touring the world doing speeches because of COVID-19. So it's like you look at it and you're like, well, actually, it was a blessing, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have created this podcast. I wouldn't have met you. We wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Absolutely. It was destined to happen. So,
Sure was.
yes, it's just awesome. And I'm just, not being afraid, pushing past fear. We all have to push past fear, because when there's something new, sometimes we'll make excuses. We'll try to be perfect, and I'm not going to speak because I don't have this perfect speech together. When it's not about being perfect, it's about being real. It's about being you. It's about the authenticity that you bring to the world. We're all uniquely different. One of the things I love about the fish in the ocean, and you can appreciate this, but one time I was in Aruba on a submarine, and we went down about 1,000 feet. And when I looked around, I saw all the different species of fish and how everyone was in awe, like saying how beautiful they were. And it brought tears to my eyes, because in that moment I thought, we can admire the uniqueness of fish 1,000 feet below in the ocean, but we fail to see the uniqueness of each one of us, right? The beauty, the uniqueness of human beings, that none of us are the same. We're all different. We're all different. And instead of embracing and loving and being amazed about that uniqueness, sometimes we try to look at everybody like the more that they're like you, the more you attract to them because they look like you, they talk like you. Well, I mean, there's no fun in that. But just seeing the beauty in our differences, it brought tears to my eyes that we could see the beauty in fish, the uniqueness of fish, but not see the beauty in our brothers and sisters that are the highest form of creation in this world.
It's a really interesting point you make, and I can align with it as someone who went and swam and experienced one of the world's wonders, my first ever world wonder that I uncovered last week. Yeah, it was last week, the Great Barrier Reef, and just seeing the plethora of fish around you. I don't know if anyone ever watching this, drop in the comments if you have, if like you've ever been swimming in a reef, and the guide said to me, he goes, just slow down, get yourself nice and flat, and the slower you go, the more you'll see. And I slowed down, and you just like, it's all going on there beneath you, like inside the rock, and you'll see a fish inside there, and then there's like a fish inside that, and it's a mind-blowing experience. It's a lot to take in one go. I can't wait to get back there and do it again. It's a real bucket list item. But I think you're right there. When we see things like that, I mean, you're 1,000 feet deep. That's like a whole other level of things that you'd be seeing. But we find the things we see day to day, we sometimes just take them completely for granted, if not find them just a bit monotonous, and we don't always see the beauty that's right in front of us, and we have to try and seek external things to find that. When I think often a lot of the things you need are just right in front of you.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, we're getting to the end of the episode. We're about 45 minutes in, but I'd love for you, before you go, to give 3 hot tips to women who are watching. I know you're big. Your community supports women in every aspect, and probably look, it does men as well. But we're talking about women right now. So if you could give 3 hot tips to any women that are watching this that are, perhaps having some struggles with loving themselves, with maybe some healing, and really are like trying to get that freedom that they want.
Absolutely. Well, I love to give tips that start with T, because again, my name is Taneisha. My friends call me T, right? So the first T that I want them to remember is time. That time is going to pass by. You have 86,400 seconds a day, and how you choose to spend each second is completely up to you. The time is going to pass anyway. Don't ever get caught up in how long it's going to take to achieve a dream, because the time is going to pass anyway. Earl Nightingale says that. That's one of my favorite quotes. The other T that I want you to remember is tenacious. Being tenacious about your goals and dreams. You have to hold tight onto your goals and dreams because life is going to come at you to test the authenticity of that goal and dream. And those bad times, they're going to want to snatch it right out of your hand, but you can't let go. You have to be resilient and say, I'm not going to let go until I win. Right? The other T I want you to remember is turnaround. You can turn any situation around. The past is over, it's history. In this moment, right now, you can create history. And that history can be a great story of a turnaround of your life. And you are the CEO of you. You don't even have to own a business yet. You're the CEO of your business. You're the CEO of your life. And you're responsible for how that life turns out. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. It's over now. All we have is this moment. Will you say yes to this moment and become the best version of yourself? Remember T, all your T's, and I'm your girl T. T stands for Tenacious. Taneisha, I love you all. She Thrives Now, my Facebook community. You can actually email me at contacttaneishanow@gmail.com or go to my website, taneishanow.com. Overseas, please go to my publisher, Wordy, WORDEE. It's 3 E's, so I always have to. Of course, you can spell word, right? But they put 3 E's on the end, so that's what makes me have to say it very concise. Wordy with 3 E's.
Great job, Taneisha.
You can get the book.
Yeah, look.
My book,
Oh yeah, we got it right here. We got it right here. I'm going to quickly find a link to that book so I can put it in the comments. Just give me 1 second. It's a fantastic looking book. I love the cover. I think it's always important to have a good cover on your book. There's a lot of books out there, and if you haven't got a good cover, then it's easy to get lost in the shelves. But
and my book is going to be a movie. So you see,
oh wow,
right here? Yes, opening the door to healing and transformation. But Tyler Perry is going to direct my book, direct my movie, and so I'm going to be an award-winning best film, Daring to Love, because this book is a true life story. It's my memoir, and I just came out with the workbook. It's going to be available January 1, so we can hold hands and go into this new year ready to dare to love.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And just for any ladies that are watching, maybe listening to this later, just remind me of the Facebook community, the name of it, so they can find it.
Yes, Facebook community is She Thrives Now. You have to get accepted into the community, but it's simple questions to answer, and we'll overlook your information and we'll get you in as soon as possible. But you can go to my website tonight, Taneishanow.com. Sign up for the newsletter because I send out key tips for free. I do free consultations as well for coaching programs. So, hey, I'm here for you.
Love that. And I've put all the links and a link for your book here in the comments. So if any of you guys are watching this later, you'll be able to see that. Taneisha, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for just bringing such high energy to the show. I love everything you're about. I can't wait to just continue this journey with you in the TIR group we're in, and just strive for even new, bigger, better, higher levels of greatness in 2021. Because frankly, it's people who strive for them that deserve them, and you are one of those people.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love to come back. Any comments or questions you have, we'll do a part 2 and I'll answer those questions.
Sure, we can do that. Absolutely. I'll get them collated for you and we can definitely do that. Guys who are listening, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate every single person who listens to the show, whether you're listening now, live or later. If you did get some value from this, share it to a friend, give it a like, give it a comment, and yeah, it would mean the world to me if just one person did that. So thanks so much, guys. Happy New Year. It's already New Year's Eve here in Australia. Have a great end to the year. Don't drink too much tonight because you don't want to start the new year with a headache, right?
Happy New Year, everybody.
Thanks, Taneisha. Bye, guys.